Welcome to JAC-Tv. Today's story is about a man who earned millions throughout his career yet somehow ended up broke. This story might change the way you think about money forever. Let's begin. Chapter 1. A young man with big dreams. Jack grew up in a middle-class family. His parents worked hard. His father spent decades in the same company. His mother carefully managed every money that entered the household. Money was never abundant, but they always managed to get by. As a child, Jack promised himself one thing. When I grow up, I'll never worry about money. He believed success meant earning a high income, so he focused on education. He studied hard, graduated with honors, and landed his first corporate job at 22 years old. His starting salary wasn't impressive, but he was grateful. He worked harder than everyone else, volunteered for difficult projects, stayed late when others went home, learned skills nobody asked him to learn. Slowly, his efforts paid off. Promotions came, raises followed, new opportunities appeared. Within 10 years, Jack's income increased dramatically. The young graduate earning a modest salary had transformed into a highly paid professional. For the first time in his life, money wasn't a daily concern, or so he thought. Chapter 2. The Invisible Enemy. Most people believe financial problems come from low income, but Jack's biggest enemy wasn't low income. It was something much more dangerous: lifestyle inflation. At first, it seemed harmless. When he received his first significant raise, he upgraded his phone, a reasonable reward. Then came another raise. He moved into a more expensive apartment, then another raise. He purchased a new vehicle, then another raise. Luxury vacations became normal. Premium restaurants became routine. Online shopping became frequent. The strange thing was that every improvement felt justified. After all, he worked hard. He deserved it. And technically, he could afford it. Or at least that's what he believed. What Jack didn't realize was that every upgrade created a permanent increase in expenses. The better apartment meant higher rent. The newer car meant monthly payments. The premium lifestyle required constant spending. His income increased, but his financial freedom didn't, because every money earned already had a destination. Chapter 3. The Illusion of Wealth. By age 35, Jack looked successful, very successful. Friends admired him, relatives respected him, former classmates envied him. Social media painted a picture of achievement. Photos from international trips, pictures of expensive dinners, luxury purchases, celebrations, milestones. Everything looked perfect, but appearances can be deceptive. One evening, while reviewing his finances, Jack noticed something uncomfortable. Despite earning more than ever before, his savings account wasn't growing. His investment account remained small. Credit card balances occasionally appeared, and unexpected expenses still caused stress. That realization bothered him. How could someone earning hundreds of thousands each month still feel financially vulnerable? The answer was simple. He was building an image, not building wealth. Many people confuse the two. An image is what others see. Wealth is what exists behind the scenes. An image can be purchased. Wealth must be built. An image seeks attention. Wealth seeks freedom. Unfortunately, society rewards appearances. People notice the luxury car. Few people notice the investment portfolio. People admire expensive watches. Few people admire disciplined saving. Because of this, many individuals spend years purchasing symbols of success instead of creating actual financial security. Jack had fallen into that trap, and he wasn't alone. Chapter 4. The Conversation That Changed Everything. One afternoon, Jack met an old friend named John. They hadn't spoken in years. John seemed ordinary. Nothing about him screamed success. No luxury vehicle, no designer clothing, no expensive accessories. Over coffee, they talked about careers, family, and life. Eventually, the conversation turned toward money. Jack proudly discussed his income growth. John listened quietly. Then he asked a question. What happens if your paycheck stops tomorrow? Jack laughed. It sounded impossible. Why would his paycheck stop? His career was strong. His company was growing. His future seemed secure. But John repeated the question. What happens if it does? This time Jack thought carefully. He realized he didn't have a good answer. A few weeks? A month? Maybe 2? He wasn't sure. Then John shared something surprising. Although he earned less than Jack, he had spent years investing. He owned dividend-paying stocks, index funds, bonds, rental properties, an emergency fund, and enough assets to cover his expenses for an extended period. Jack was shocked. How could someone earning less have greater financial security? The answer was discipline. John never allowed his lifestyle to rise as fast as his income. Each raise created additional investments, not additional expenses. At the time, Jack respected the advice, but he didn't fully understand it. Life was still comfortable, and comfort often prevents people from recognizing risks. Chapter 5. When reality arrives, uninvited. Then came the unexpected. Economic conditions changed. The company began restructuring. Departments were consolidated. Budgets were reduced. Rumors spread through the office. Employees became nervous. Managers avoided difficult conversations. Then one Friday afternoon, Jack received a calendar invitation. A short meeting. Nothing unusual. At least that's what he thought. 15 minutes later, everything changed. His position had been eliminated. The company thanked him for his contributions, offered a separation package, and wished him success. Just like that, the income he had depended upon disappeared. The shock was overwhelming, but an even bigger shock arrived the following month. The bills didn't disappear. Mortgage payments remained. Car payments remained. Insurance payments remained. Subscriptions remained. Lifestyle expenses remained. Everything stayed exactly the same, except the income. For years, Jack believed his high salary protected him. Now he understood a painful truth. A high income can disappear. True wealth cannot. Chapter 6. The Hard Lessons. The months that followed were some of the most difficult of Jack's life. He began cutting expenses. First the easy ones, dining out, subscriptions, entertainment. Then came the harder decisions, selling gadgets, selling watches, selling luxury items, eventually selling the car he once considered a symbol of success. Each sale taught him something. Many of the things he purchased provided temporary happiness, but long-term financial obligations. The excitement of buying lasted days. The payments lasted years. For the first time, Jack began studying personal finance seriously. Not from social media influencers promising overnight riches, not from people selling courses, but from books and timeless financial principles. What he discovered transformed the way he viewed money forever. Chapter 7. The Truth About Wealth. Jack learned that wealth is not determined by income. It is determined by assets. Imagine two people. One earns $500,000 monthly and spends $490,000. The other earns $100,000 and spends $50,000. Which one becomes wealthy faster? Most people focus on the first person's income, but wealth depends on what remains, not what enters. Over time, the second person may accumulate more investments, more assets, and greater financial security. The lesson was powerful. Income creates opportunity, but behavior creates wealth. Many high earners remain financially fragile because they spend nearly everything they earn. Meanwhile, some average earners quietly build fortunes through consistent investing. The difference isn't intelligence, it's habit. Chapter 8. Starting Over. Eventually, Mark found another job. The salary was lower than before. Years earlier, that would have felt like failure. Now it felt like a second chance. This time he approached money differently. Every paycheck followed a plan. Invest first, spend later, build assets before upgrading lifestyle, increase savings before increasing expenses, create security before seeking luxury. The process wasn't exciting. Nobody applauded. Nobody noticed. There were no social media posts, no flashy purchases, no dramatic moments, just consistent progress, month after month, year after year. Chapter 9. The Power of Small Decisions. What surprised Jack most was how ordinary wealth building actually looked. There was no secret, no magic formula, no perfect investment, just thousands of small decisions repeated consistently. Choosing to invest instead of spend, choosing patience instead of impulse, choosing long-term freedom over short-term status. Those decisions compounded, just like money compounds. A single investment seemed insignificant, but hundreds of investments created meaningful wealth. A single saved money seemed small, but years of discipline created financial security. Jack finally understood why so many wealthy people appeared ordinary. Because real wealth often hides. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't need validation. It simply grows quietly over time. Final lesson. Years later, Jack reflected on his journey. The expensive gadgets were gone. The luxury cars had been replaced. The trendy purchases had faded from memory. But his investments remained. His assets remained. His financial freedom remained. And he realized the lesson he wished he had learned much earlier. Money is not about impressing people. Money is about creating options. The option to retire comfortably. The option to help family members. The option to survive unexpected challenges. The option to choose how you spend your time. Because at the end of the day, Financial freedom is not measured by the size of your paycheck. It's measured by how long you can live without one. The man who earned millions stayed broke because he spent his income building an image. The man who eventually became wealthy did something different. He used his income to build assets, and that made all the difference. Now the question is, if your primary source of income disappeared today, how long could your current savings and investments support your lifestyle? A week, a month, 6 months, a year? Share your answer in the comments. And remember, the goal is not to look rich. The goal is to become financially free. This is JAC-Tv. Discipline today, freedom tomorrow. Build wealth. Live your dream. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.